Well, now that Donald Trump's the presumptive nominee, how worried ought the Republican Party be? We got some stunning news today of a fractured party. Then we will ask a former Democratic congressman to assess the state of his party and Bernie Sanders' impact on it. Plus, we'll look at how out of control money and politics and that relationship has become. Also, our conversation with former New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey. He discusses the severe problems in our criminal justice system and also how he is helping inmates re-enter society.
We're imprisoning more African American men than South Africa locked up black South Africans at the height of apartheid.
A really interesting conversation, Dominic and the former governor, that coming up later in the program. Well, good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French here, and we got some big news late this afternoon, and it is, if anything, a symbol of just how fractured the GOP is as we speak. House Speaker Paul Ryan has just said he is not ready to support Donald Trump as the nominee, and he, again, the man who will be banging the gavel, bringing the convention to order, where the man on your screen will be that party's nominee for president. He is hardly alone, is Paul Ryan, in being the only Republican who's worrying about the future of his party this fall. Many GOP senators in tough races, they're especially concerned. At the top of the list, 2008 GOP presidential nominee and also Republican senator looking at re-election, John McCain. The Arizona senator worried that Trump could hurt his re-election chances. Take a listen to this audio clip captured at a private fundraiser.
I do not take my primary opponent lightly. I am working hard to make sure we win there, but have no doubt that if it is Donald Trump at the top of the ticket here in Arizona, with over 30% of the vote being Hispanic vote, I have no doubt that this may be the race of my life.
The race of his life. Well, maybe McCain doesn't have to worry about Trump and Hispanics because he's doing some outreach. Take a look at this tweet today that was put out by the Donald. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics. This isn't an SNL skit. This is in real time today. And as my friend Mr. Brodsky said, you cannot, if you tried, make this stuff up. And there's dissension in the ranks of the RNC. The New York Times is reporting, quote, some staff members at the Republican National Committee were told Wednesday that if they were unable to get behind the nominee, they should leave by the end of the week. And then, of course, there's the issue of money. Many top fundraisers, including the Koch brothers, are saying they are not opening their wallets for Trump. Koch brothers going so far as to say they may even support Hillary. But the Donald says he does need the big bucks.
As far as the campaign, I'm making decisions right now, but probably will work with the Republican National Committee, raise a lot of money, and go out and beat Hillary. We're going to try and raise over $1 billion, which is what's going to be necessary.
What will be necessary? Again, that same RNC where folks are told either get on board with the guy or give your papers by Friday. So to say it is an interesting day in politics on the Republican side would be putting it mildly. Let's bring in our panel. Richard Brodsky is a former Democratic New York State Assemblyman, chair of the Trump Committee for, I'm
Never
kidding.
Been happier.
No, he's also senior fellow at Demos and a professor at NYU. Dominic Carter to his left, political journalist and author, not figuratively, just where he's sitting right now. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. First off, on the math front, we always talk about the delegates and everything else. The number, $1 billion. Mm-hmm. He said he needs it. So it's not, remember the whole narrative thread throughout this is I don't need anybody's money. I don't need to raise money. I've got all my own. He's been brilliant in terms of using guys like us and media to get free publicity this whole time. And where he said he's poured in $30 million, it's all been in the form of loans that he can claw right back if he wants. He's going to be looking for matching funds, and he's also trying to raise what he says is necessary to beat Hillary, which is $1 billion. A, do you think he's right he needs that much? And B, will he get anywhere close to it, given some of the realities I already said?
He is going to need the $1 billion because now we're talking about real money. I mean, the $30 million he spent in the campaign, you can get by on that with the free media, but he's got a professional campaign staff now. He needs a ground game. He needs the outreach. He's going to need some supporters. You really do need $1 billion. I think he's going to wind up outside the matching fund system, and I think so will Hillary. Will he get it? Yeah, I think he will, because everybody wants access, and that's how you get access these
See,
days.
I don't think so. I think, Richard, people are going to follow through with closing their wallets. I mentioned off the top, you had Paul Ryan today, and the reason why Paul Ryan came out and said, I'm not ready to get behind Trump. I'd like to, but there's just too much of a gap. He's giving cover now to other House Republicans who are worried, do I have to get behind somebody that's going to hurt me in the fall? So my point is, people may give money, but I think they're going to be giving it more to individual races or maybe the party than to the individual candidate in case of Trump.
Trump is losing two groups of Republicans and others. Those who think his persona is not what a president ought to be. His way of saying things, his impulsiveness, his instability. That's one problem. The other group he's losing are conservatives, because he was the liberal in the race. And the interesting thing is that the Republican voter went with the guy who's okay on Medicare, okay on Social Security, wants to tax the hedge fund guys. So his first...
We talked yesterday about raising the minimum wage potentially.
His first problem is going to be, strangely enough, having to really get the Republican Party back together. If he can do that, he can start thinking about how you add to that. But if he can't get the right-wing extremists, and I don't think he will, and he can't get the character people, and I think he will get those, then it doesn't make any sense to talk about white men and Hispanic women and all that jazz. The Republican voter delivered this verdict. This is what they wanted. This is what they're going to get. If you can't strap on the equipment and be part of the team, you should get out. Whether you're the RNC or our friend Bill O'Reilly today did in what I thought was a very courageous and principled act.
And let's remind people of what Bill said. Bill said, Andrew, as it relates to his position with the state Republican Party, right?
He left the Republican Party. He signed up with the Conservative Party. He also said he can't support Trump because he doesn't think it's in the best interest of the country.
But his reason was personality and temperament, not ideology. Trump is also going to have problems with the right-wing ideologues.
Now, Dominic, I'm not trying to, for our audience, get into Arizona politics tonight, but we just played that audio clip of John McCain saying he could be in for the political fight of his life here in the race this fall because of Trump. Do you think the voter, and not just Arizona, but the voter out there, and I've always wondered the answer to this, will they make a distinction when they go to the polls because Trump is such an outlier right now that where they usually would vote D across the line or R across the line? Do you think they may say, well, I can't vote for Trump, I just can't stomach the guy, but I'll still vote for McCain, who's my guy, and I'm a traditional Republican? Or is he right to be petrified that if you're in a swing state right now with a big Latino population or whatever else, you know, Trump's going to bring you down 5 points or whatever it is? Is he right, or do you think he's misreading the voter?
McCain is right to be petrified in this situation under the scenario you just laid out. It's not only just a matter of voting against the top of the ticket, but then supporting McCain. You're going to drive out the anti-vote. You're going to pull out the anti-vote. You're going to energize the anti-vote. And that's not going to be well for McCain. So I agree with the second part of what you just set up. And I do believe that McCain and elected officials across the country should be concerned, because the issue is, will Trump have coattails? I think the answer is no. I think the general election is going to be a nail biter, but I don't think he's going to have coattails.
But, you know, McCain sort of made this bed that he finds himself in, and all of a sudden he's blaming it on Trump. But he was the standard bearer in 2008, didn't exactly make immigration reform a key and central component of his debate, of his campaign. He's had 167 years in the Senate where he could have pushed for immigration reform, and he hasn't done it.
But if it was Rubio on the top, let's say as the nominee tonight, Andrew, and not Trump, I don't think he'd be as nervous.
I don't think he'd be as nervous either, but he's in part responsible for the politics that begat Donald Trump.
He has a primary from his right wing. The Republican Party
if he had taken on this issue and put it to bed, there were plenty of opportunities during the George W. Bush administration.
I want to get back to something. The idea tonight, I think there's been a narrative that I think people have too casually bought into, that, hey, if Trump proved anything, the establishment doesn't mean anything. I still don't buy that, even in a primary. I think it does matter. I think it had to speak to the quality of the other 16 candidates and the fact that there were 17 people running. I think that mattered. But rather than try to relitigate how we got to where we are, the stunning thing that we're sitting here in May, and the Speaker of the House says he can't get behind his party's nominee. McConnell yesterday says, I guess if I had to, in effect, and a lot of other Republicans. What happened today? Mitt Romney, he's not even going to Cleveland. The Bushes, they're not going to Cleveland. Now, will it change one vote for the voter? I know it won't. But the point is, you're going to have such a cluster F in Cleveland. It's going to make for great TV for you, but just think about
it doesn't sound like everyone's gonna be there.
but it's going to be party insiders. It's not the general electorate. It's going to be
Richard, the
fascinating what
voter
happens.
of the Republican Party doesn't want the Bushes there. They don't want.
Thank you.
I agree with you, but what we miss is, for 4 days, a party has its best chance, and they always get a bump coming out of the convention, okay? Maybe it's a small bump, maybe it's a big bump. But everybody's singing the same song. Hold on a second. For 4 days, you're going to have a dysfunctional food fight where you have somebody, and I'd love to source who was, it's like a divorced family right now that can't get out of each other's way here, and it's still ugly. They're going to have a negative balance coming out of Cleveland, not the other way around.
A disagreement like this is not impossible to mend. Look at Hillary and Barack Obama in 2008. Look at.
But they never said they wouldn't get behind the
Look at Ford
candidate.
and Reagan. Look, it's day one here. The problem for Trump is that even a small loss in the base of voters, forget the leadership and the elites, a small loss of voters in the Republican base is going to be impossible to make up with Democrats.
See, I think there's a different, bigger problem. I think for him, he has to make a decision right now. He hasn't taken a punch without punching back this whole time, and it's worked for him. He's going to be pressed. Well, what are you going to say about Paul Ryan now and his decision not to support you and others using even stronger
words? He said yet.
Right,
Okay,
say yes.
so
Big
Trump's going to
difference.
have to come across as measured and not aggressive to folks he may need later on. Or if he's going to attack them, they certainly aren't going to come around. So either he comes up as inauthentic, which doesn't appeal to his voter base, or he plays to the voters and says, screw the party.
That's what he's going to do.
And that's going to be a bigger problem than I think.
He's gonna.
Yeah.
Paul Ryan. I like Paul Ryan. I'm
right.
sure he'll come around.
When we come back, we take a look at the Democrats. We're going to hear from a former congressman from our area, Tim Bishop, from out on the island, on Bernie Sanders and whether or not Sanders is hurting the Democratic Party by refusing to go away. Stay with us.